Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's interview with HR Exchange Network. I'm delighted to be joined today by Nora Castillo, HRIS and Benefits Administrator at iStation. I am Francesca DeMeglio, the editor of HR Exchange Network, and today we're going to talk about benefits. So, welcome, Nora. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Francesca.
Anytime. So let's talk a little bit, first of all, about your role with benefits. Tell me how you ended up in the world of benefits, and then we'll go on to more nitty gritty, in-depth information about it.
Yes, definitely. I've always lived in the world of HR for over 20 years, but closer probably to 2018, 2019, I spent more time in the benefits role and then moved forward into more actual benefits positions with a couple companies. I was a benefits generalist and then also the benefits manager. And currently, I am now at iStation, and I've been there for over a year, and really just enjoy the benefit side of HR because I really like to speak about indirect compensation. I think a lot of employees forget about how important that is, and definitely want to make sure that employees understand their benefits because I know that not everybody speaks that language. Most of the
Yeah.
time, it's just during new hire open enrollment or annual open enrollment as well. So I'd like to just have certain information out there throughout the year for employees so that way they keep engaged with certain information throughout the year. And then typically I will set up correspondence and communication to employees that's set up with whatever month that is as far as the awareness month. Like, for example, this month is Diabetes Awareness Month.
That's great. So
Yes.
I think you bring up a point that I'd love to ask you about. We constantly hear from people in HR about the fact that people don't always take advantage of their benefits. They listen to them in their feedback surveys. They try to provide these offerings that they think the employees want, and then they don't use them. And it ends up being a waste of time and resources. How do you combat that? And do you agree that that's a big problem?
It is a big problem. Yes, that's exactly right. For example, preventive care is very important. And there is a very long list for the employee's independence when it comes to preventive care. And that is 100% that is covered annually. And a lot of employees do not take advantage of that. But then again, I also know that there might be a little bit of a fear of, finding out what the results may be, right? But again, there is something that I think is very important is that either you take care of your wellness today or you're going to be forced to take care of your illness tomorrow. So you want to make sure that you maintain that wellness and take advantage of the preventive care. Also, the same thing goes with EAP services, right? A lot of the times, we have stressful days or we forget about the EAP services that employers offer when it comes to sometimes there's financial services. There's also services for daycare or elderly care as well. And, it sounds a little morbid. People don't want to talk about it again, but also assistance with estate and writing a will, right? So, and all of that is typically free and it comes with part of the EAP services. And that's, again, something that people forget about a lot.
Yes, and such important things that you're
Yes.
right. Nobody wants to think about, but goodness,
Yes.
once tragedy happens, or you like you said, you get ill, then you think, oh, woulda, coulda, shoulda. So
Yes.
good to keep that in mind. So we've heard a lot about going from there about this point that people don't always take advantage. We heard a lot about some innovative benefits, pet insurance and all kinds of different things. We just had a webinar about menopause benefits, about fertility treatments as part of your benefits package, lots of things that can help women. Um, where do you stand on these innovative benefits, and what do you think is going to last, what do you think isn't, and what are you seeing in the marketplace with these trends?
Well, one thing that it's interesting that you bring that up because, the recent act that was passed was the Pregnancy Workers Fairness Act back in July, which, wasn't really a game changer for us because a lot of the policies we already follow, right, with the other acts as well. But when that came into play, we definitely made sure that employees were aware of the new act as well and had trainings with the managers and any employees that wanted to be a part of it. But when it comes to the benefits, like you're speaking about, I do think it's important that employers take a look at those benefits because, for example, with the menopause and the fertility, I think a lot of women go through situations where maybe they should be staying at home, but we do somehow manage to get to work. And I think that it's definitely something very important that is taken seriously and is understood that not necessarily an illness, but it is definitely something that can impact how you feel at work. And I think because we are females, we kind of try to toughen up a little bit and just get through the day.
Yes.
So I think those benefits are very important.
It's so true. We all try to, do everything
Yes.
and never complain, and
Yes.
and that ends up being a problem. And it
Mhm.
affects productivity. All of these things can affect productivity. We had a webinar about employee wellness and benefits, and really that was discussed very often, how the benefits you have, even if it's something like basic, like your medical insurance tied to your work, it really affects your mental state. If you
Yes.
have bills piling up, that's going to really affect if you can do your job well at work, because you may be distracted if you're going bankrupt over your medical bills and you don't have access to health insurance through your
Yes.
job. So, those are important things to consider. What are some of the things that frustrate you, that you wish the workers or maybe the leaders, that they would know about benefits administration, and that could help you do your job better, but could also improve their situation as well?
That's a great question, Francesca. I think I would say that a good word to use is frustration because I think that sometimes employees do not take in consideration the employer portion of the medical cost and the premiums, right? I think
Yeah.
that although the rates are very expensive for them, and we completely understand that every year medical premiums increase, and it's very hard for them to stay in a neutral line, right? Because usually there's something that's increasing those rates. So a lot of the times it can be forgotten, and I know that employees understand that it is expensive on their part, but it is very, very, very expensive on the employer side too. And that comes back to the indirect compensation, right? Is to make sure that they understand that there is a huge cost that they are not seeing. Um, Although I do understand their frustration as well as employees, but there's so much more that happens when it comes to scheduling, the right carriers, making sure you go through those renewal plans, having those conversations with the brokers and making negotiations with the carriers. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that employees don't understand the back end of that. And it's definitely, something that happens not just within a couple weeks. Like, for example, we just went through our stewardship meeting for post renewal. Because our plan year starts on 6/1, but at this post renewal stewardship meeting, we were already talking about renewal for January. And
Right.
that's already going to start in January and the process will, continue. But yes, I think that it can be a little bit misleading about the process for benefits administration and the renewal and everything that goes into it.
Yeah, I think I
Mhm.
mean, it's cost prohibitive for some companies, smaller companies especially. That's been an issue for many years now. I know Obamacare, the has kind of changed that a little bit, but it's still very difficult for people to get access to healthcare, and then for employers also to provide it.
Yeah.
Um, I think that maybe, and you can disagree, but I think maybe more communication, which it sounds like you're already doing, but on the part of other employers as well, would be necessary. And I also think one of the things you talked about, how people don't really understand their benefits, right? So, what are some things employers and HR professionals can do to help with that process?
Yes, so then most HRIS vendors or even employers can provide a total rewards template. Now, having said that, you have to actually make sure that the numbers are correct, or else it can be a little bit skewed, right?
Hmm.
So I did try to go ahead and provide that for our employees, but the system that we use does not have the capabilities that I wanted to have and the functionalities. So it does not provide the information as accurately as I would like. So I'm actually currently working on that with my boss to see what we can do for next year so that we can provide a total rewards template that actually provides the compensation, but also the indirect compensation. It's all tied together. So it also, I mean, it includes the benefits, the employee portion, the employer portion. It also includes the 401k contributions. It also includes the PTO time off, the sick time as well. And then at the end, it gives you a total number, and then it also provides a graph as well.
That would break it down so people can
Yes.
see it and visibly understand. I know it's so complicated too when you're getting a new job and you're looking at all of those packages and is it part of the onboarding that you do? I imagine it is.
Yes, I do. I actually do have the benefits orientation onboarding that I'm a part of. And that's a great point, Francesca, because that's, when I was more involved on the HR side, not the benefit side. And if an employee wanted to resign, or they were thinking about it, or had conversations that possibly they wanted to go somewhere else, then, I made sure to let them know that to also think about the indirect compensation that people forget about. Check the benefits, check when your benefits begin, because, sometimes they can say you're going to start in 2 weeks, but your benefits don't start until 90 days after your, first day of hire. So that's going to take not 3 months that you don't have benefits, and people don't take that into consideration because maybe there's just like a slight increase in their salary, but
Right.
there might also be an increase in their medical premiums as well. So by the time they get their first check with those new premiums for their medical deductions, then it might
Even
balance itself, right?
That's a great
So
point. How much of
yes.
a role do you think? I mean, we obviously know benefits can attract people to
Again.
apply for jobs with you, but
Mhm.
how much of a role do you think it plays in retention, or should it play in retention?
It should. It really should, because it's important to understand just the life cycle of employees, right? Because sometimes we have employees who are, in an a later on part of their life, right? So maybe
Right.
they don't need the benefits that a family of four needs, right? So then you also have to take that into consideration, and then also check your demographics, right? Because sometimes we can have years where, there's something in the water and everybody's having babies.
Right,
And
right.
then, the next year it changes, right? So then that is a lot to consider. So I think employees do take that in consideration, because, when they're adding additions to their dependents, then their premiums go up as well. So that's also something to consider too. I think whenever they may be looking at other positions, that's of course something that you want to provide at the beginning of onboarding, is you want to make sure that you provide at least the rates of the premium. So I know that employees or candidates take that into consideration quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
It's definitely top of mind when you're looking at a compensation and benefits package.
Yes.
So, what would you say is your greatest message that you would want people to understand, the HR professionals who might be watching this now? What would you like them to know or take away from this about benefits administration?
Yes, I would like everybody to take away that, I know that not everybody speaks benefits. I know that it can sound complicated, but it really doesn't have to be. There's a simple way to break down what specifically anybody is looking for to get a better understanding of their needs.
Yeah, I think that's a great way
Mhm.
to end this right now. So, thank you everyone for joining us. This was really enlightening about benefits. I don't think we spend enough time talking about the basics of our compensation packages. So, thank you so much, Nora, for doing this. And I hope everyone stays tuned to hrexchangenetwork.com for more information on HR news and topics and trends. Thank you. Bye bye.